Welcome, guys, to the Dance Mompreneur Podcast. Today, I'm here with Angela Rivers. She has an amazing story. I'm just gonna give a brief introduction to her, but she is a former dancer, also choreographer and instructor in the dance community. She then turned into becoming a dance mom, and she's very supportive of her daughter's journey with dance. She's an 8-year-old that she's in a studio that she loves. Angela is very involved in the dance community with her studio, with the other moms, and with all the things that her daughter is doing. She dreams big, which I love it. She mentioned that. And I love the fact too that she's also an overcomer because she has overcome some major challenge in her life. One of those actually leaving her paralyzed, and she's going to take her through this journey and story and how he impacted her her whole life journey with dance. So yeah, I have Angela here. Thank you so much, Angela, for being on this podcast.
Yeah, hi. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to chat and just to share more about how I love dance and, just support all the people out there who love dance the same as we do.
Awesome. I love it too. I love people who are passionate about what they're doing. And I can see that you are. And I have a lot of things that I want to touch on about your story. So, you are a former dancer, and I want to kind of like take people back on what it was like to be part of dance when you were younger, because so much has changed in the dance community. And what was that experience like to you? And how is it different from the experience that your daughter is having today with dance?
Yeah, the experience is a lot different. I mean, back when I was a dancer, when I was growing up, the studios were different. I felt like, at least for me, I mean, everybody's journey is different and everybody's studio is different. But for me, our studio, and I went to more than one, but each one was very stringent. I'd say the styles were different than they are today. And I didn't feel as it was as supportive as it is today. I felt like a lot of the students were competing against each other. And at our studio now, and I see it in a lot of other studios, everyone is supportive of one another. Whether you get the lead or you don't get the lead, you cheer on your fellow dancers. And I think that really shines about a great studio. It makes people want to be at the studio. It makes kids want to grow and learn and thrive because they have a whole support system versus when I was younger. It was just very different. And I remember coming home in tears because I didn't get this or I didn't. When in doubt, I could have been more supportive of my fellow dancers and they could have been more supportive of me. And also, it would help us grow and learn and collaborate as a studio. I mean, you can always learn from other people.
Yeah. So, why do you think it was that way?
I think it was just the time. I think
Mhm.
nowadays culture has really changed and a lot of things in society are really different. And so I think just the way our society is now, people are more accepting of a lot of different things in the world. And I think that also comes into play when it comes to sports and the competitive nature.
Okay. And how did that affect you in a negative way? Because I'm sure it wasn't easy for you to have that pressure and kind of be in that culture and that mindset. So you were probably very hard on yourself, I can assume, very perfectionist. Tell me a little bit about how it affected you.
Yeah, I was, and I think that it even streams to how I am today. They say a lot of things that the way you grew up is who you are as an adult. And I'm still a perfectionist now in nature. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have flaws. And I try to teach my daughter that because when I was growing up, it wasn't okay. You had to be perfect and you had to strive to be excellent. And now excellent looks different. It might be that you are the best, and it might just be that you're having fun. And everybody's excellent is different. And that's what I think makes today so much different than it was back when I was growing up as a dancer.
Yeah. And I think something that I always try to tell my daughter is that you are always competing against yourself. So I think
Mhm.
this is the greatest thing. I always tell her, look at yourself last year, how much you have improved, how
Mhm.
much, you're a better dancer today, you're a better, person, you're more mature, you're more, let's say, organized, and you can take on more responsibilities. All of those things, I think I try to emphasize to her, because it's so easy to compare yourself as a young girl to other girls, right? Especially if you're in that kind of environment and you're missing the mark. Even for us today, right? Adults. If I'm
Yeah,
comparing myself to you, what good does that do to me? Nothing. Like no good. Because
exactly.
you are your own person, I am my own person. You have your journey. You have gone through stuff I haven't gone through. Same for me. And
Yeah.
it's more like, look at yourself, 5 years ago and last year. You're like, oh my gosh. It's like, it's always good to be in a place of gratitude for the person that
Mhm.
you become, and be easy on your body. I always tell this to my daughter, because she is, in her personality, kind of a perfectionist. I don't think her studio that she was in, that she's been in, for the longest, was like that, but it was her. Like I would have, her teachers would be like, she's way too hard on herself. Like oh my gosh, she's focusing too much on like the negative sometimes, because she's striving so hard to do good. But I always try to tell her, you gotta be grateful for the body you have. Like instead of being
Mhm.
like upset about the things you can do, like how amazing that your body can do all of this.
Yeah.
And you're putting your body through so much through these trainings and stuff. So I think this is I love it, because you agree, right? This is a
Yeah.
much better like mindset to be in.
Oh, completely. And even now, my daughter still reminds me, she's like, Mom, it's okay not to be perfect, you know? And so I love that I've taught her that and she can remind me because we all go through things. We all grow every year, every day. Something new happens and makes us who we
Mhm.
are. And I love that we're able to really focus on that nowadays. Whereas I think when I was younger, that wasn't, you were set on a goal and it was how fast could you get there? And now it's okay to take your time, because over time you grow, whether it's big leaps or whether it's slow like a turtle, it's okay, you still grow.
Yeah, I love this, and I love that people can hear this, because I don't think it's like that in every studio. And I always try to bring this to people's attention, because I don't know if it was this like to you, but when you were growing up, did you know that it could look different? Like I don't know, did you?
I didn't because I wasn't
Mhm.
exposed to that, and I went to two different studios and I didn't know that, and even when I taught and I also was a coach and it was still like that, it was still like, okay, we have to win, we have to make the mark. And now we want to win, of course, everybody does, but
Mhm.
if you don't, it's okay. And it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
And, why didn't you get that? And how can you be better? And maybe you didn't win first, but maybe you got best costume. I mean, there's so many things out there now in the competitive stage where you can be the best in a whole different way of looking at it, and you can be successful in all different manners.
Yes, I love this. So now that, tell me a little bit about your daughter. You said that she loves dance. She's
I
very
tried.
passionate about. and
Yeah.
uh and she said that she maybe want to be on Broadway. Maybe she talks about being, an instructor, a choreographer. What are some of her dreams, and what are you doing right now to kind of push her on that direction? Some of the things that you are important to consider if she wants to take this all the way.
Yeah, definitely. I've always said, I will support her through everything that she wants to do in dance until she tells me not to. So if she wants a private lesson, I'm right there. If she wants to travel X, Y, and Z, I'm right there because I wasn't given that same support because it was just different back then. And it's not, to say that I couldn't have had that support. It was just different. Everything looked different. There's so many more
Mhm.
opportunities now than there ever was when I was growing up. And so she does have big dreams. She eats the spotlight better than I ever could. She is more talented than I ever was at her age at 8. And I think that just shows how much she loves to dance. And I mean, when she's not at the studio and when she's not at school, that's all she does at home. She lives and breathes the sport. And I love that. And until she comes to me and says, I don't want to do it anymore, and maybe she never will, and that's great because that's what her dream is. I will be there in the front row, supporting her, cheering her on, helping her get her dream because that I think it's so important as a parent to support your kids with whatever dream it is, whether it's dance, whether it's music or art or math or engineering, whatever it is. Be the kind of parent that is there through thick and thin to help them grow, because they're your legacy. When you're not around, who else is going to be there to support them? So support them now until they get to where they are able to support themselves.
I
And
love
even
this so
there,
much. Yeah.
I'll still be in the lights. But when I'm not here, there is going to be a time when I'm not here and they
Mhm.
have to do it on their own.
Exactly. And then she will be able to pass this on. She's going to be like, it was so amazing having my mom support me that I know what that's like. And I want to give this to my kids and my children. And I always talk about this. It's just like, I, if you're not investing in your kids, I mean, especially for us moms, I mean, what's the point? If your kid has found something that they love, they're passionate about it, all that they can do is think about doing that. I get so happy to support her in that because I think it's so important for a child early on to find something that she likes and she can improve on, because it's showing those kids from an early age that if they work hard, they can do what they love, they can become better at it, they can gain confidence. This is so good. And again, I also didn't have that much support from my family, not in a mean way. It was just my mom was busy and she couldn't understand this aspect of it. She almost saw it as like, this little thing she's doing dance. She didn't realize how much it meant to me and how involved I wanted to be with dance and how it made me feel when I was dancing. So I bring that to my daughter, and I was just like, it just turned out that she is a dancer like yours. Like, she's dancing when she's not dancing. She always tells me the boring day is Sunday because it's when she doesn't go to school to dance. She's like, what am I going to do on Sunday? It's like, she loves dance. So I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, I'm going to support you all the way in. And some in support too. Tell me if you agree with this. And if you don't, it's fine. But I think you are supporting them even through the times when they're having a hard time and they're thinking like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, because you have to consider not as in terms of like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Okay, then let's all quit. It's be like, let's talk about it. Why is it? Why are you feeling this way? Did something happen, or what is it that you're not happy about? Because it may be that it's just the environment. It may be that it's just something particular that happened. And anytime you're doing something that is going to push you forward, it's going to be hard. It's going to have some hard moments, especially as they get older, obviously, and that's how I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. And even just, it could be the class, it could be the environment, it could be an array of different things, but to talk it out. People will come to me and they'll say, "Oh, do you push?" My daughter's name is Tabitha, and they'll say, "Do you push her to go into all the things, in dance?" And I say, "No, I don't." She and I sit down and we talk about all the different classes before she signs up for anything, all the different competitions, all the different, X, Y, and Z. And I let her decide and her to tell me, what she does and doesn't want to do and why. And then we talk it out, because it's important. It's her. She's the one doing it. It's not my decision. And so I think that's really important to always talk about, the hardships and then the strengths too, because there's so many wins and there's so many strengths and there's so many exciting moments, but then there's also some tough times. And to be able to talk out both in different manners also helps them become a stronger dancer and a stronger individual in life.
Yes. I love that. And talking about that, being stronger and becoming a stronger individual, I want people to hear a little bit about your story and what happened with you, because you were, very involved in dance. You're a dancer, then you became a dance teacher. You were all, I'm guessing, in that stage of your life, really busy doing what you love. And then all of a sudden you woke up and you were paralyzed from your waist down.
Mhm.
And tell people what happened and take us on that journey.
Yeah, so I have what they call late stage Lyme disease, and I still have it. It never really goes away, unfortunately. And I was bit by a tick when I was my daughter's age. So I was bit, and back then, um, like early 90s, late 80s, and nobody knew what Lyme's disease was back then. Let's get real. And
Yep.
so I remember getting sick, and I only remember that because my dad, he's was a famous musician. He is deceased now, but he was always on tour. And my mother was a teacher, and she was not home, and she was always, more like a one type of, what am I going to say? More like she was the sole parent. My dad was always on tour. And so it was the one time he was there with me and she wasn't. And so I remember getting sick. I remember getting the bullseye. I remember getting the tick burnt off with a match, because that's what you did back then.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened. I didn't get on medicine. I didn't go to the doctor. You just didn't do it. And I was never really the same. My mother told me, after so many years, and when I finally got sick, she's like, "Oh, you know what? You were never the same after that." And it lay
Mhm.
dormant in my body. And then I got married, and I was teaching dance, and I was running for a marathon, and my body was under so much stress. And then my dad died, um,
Mm.
and my grandfather died. And so I had a lot of stress. And they say that when you have late stage Lyme and it is dormant in your body, it will come to the surface if you are overly stressed on your body and not taking care of yourself. Which is one thing I always tell my daughter, is it's so important to take care of your body, because you just never know. And I remember going out to dinner. I remember running my best time, because I was running, training for a marathon, and I went to bed and I woke up the next morning and I was paralyzed from the waist down. There was no I didn't know it was happening. I didn't know it was coming. And then I spent, which a lot of people who have Lyme disease, you go through so much time. I went through a whole year of not knowing what I had, because you don't think about, 20 years ago, oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
was bit with a tick. Like, you don't think like that. I thought, oh, maybe I have MS, or maybe I have lupus, and you go through everything that Google tells you you might have, and every doctor that you might have. It's very common, because it is such a under what am I going to say under aware disease, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people understand it, and there's very few doctors that really understand it as well. And so I went through a whole year of not knowing what I have, until finally I found a really great doctor, and she discovered that I did have Lyme disease, and I also had all the co-infections that you could have with it, which is not, it's very pretty rare to have all the things. And so I went through a good 8 years of not
Wow.
dancing and being in a wheelchair and graduating to
Wow.
a cane. And finally, after 8 years, I had a home health nurse. I had a port. I was on IVs. I was on 2 pages of medications and, supplements to try to get better. I was in physical therapy and occupational therapy. And after 8 years, I kind of just got fed up, and I started taking my life into my own hands, and I started weaning myself off of certain medications and trying to eat the foods. I'm a big nutritional believer in eating things that you could get from a supplement. Um, and so I started doing that, and I started taking care of me as much as I could. And then I'm all of a sudden started getting better.
Go
And
figure. Look at that. Yeah.
right, yeah, and it was so hard, and there's so many gray spots of that time that I just don't remember, because I was so foggy in the head, or so scared. I was told I'd never have kids. I was told that I wouldn't walk
Wow.
again. And it really put a huge perspective on life for me. I now never take anything for granted. And I always try to look on the bright side, even when it's super hard, because I didn't know. I didn't know that the next day I was going to wake up and not be able to walk and not be able to do what I love. I mean, I love to dance now. I loved it back then. And that's all I wanted to do. And to not be able to do that, and to come up with a plan B all of a sudden after you heal, like, that's hard.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's really brought me to who I am today. And, I work so hard now, even that perfectionist self, like, I still work so hard to succeed in everything and to love everything I do, because you never know what tomorrow's going to have, and what tomorrow's never promised, people always say. And I grew up always thinking that I was invincible, and we're not. You just
No.
never know
Mhm.
if you're going to be here tomorrow and be able to be around, for me to think like, oh my goodness, I want to be here for my kids tomorrow. You just never know.
Mhm.
So
Wow, it's a very inspiring journey. I can only imagine how that was for you, but I love the fact that you decided to take matter into your own hands. Because if you think about it, you were a victim of something that wasn't your fault, you wasn't expecting, all of a sudden it hit you, right? um and then but you really saw you getting better at it when you decided, hold on, wait a minute, like
uh,
let me dive into this and go into my with my intuition and see what I can do to make this better. And I'm very strong advocate for that. It's something that I have done for myself, it's something that I've done for my kid. It's something that I strongly always tell my daughter to do this, because especially when you have, some kind of sickness, a disease, or something like that. It can be so easy for you to be taking all this medication and doing all this stuff that it's so overwhelming, and it may not be putting you on a better path. So I'm very strong advocate for what do you eat, how you living, what are you putting in your body, because it matters. It can completely transform somebody's life. I've transformed my life. I see, my daughter, and obviously it's not a comparison to what you went through, but a comparison to like realize that you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. You don't have to like do with your life what somebody else is telling you.
mhm.
Even, sometimes I've received diagnoses and things like this, and I'm like, hold on, like I want to research about this. I
Yeah.
want to understand my body. I want to pay attention to what is going on and be like, is this doing me good? Is this doing me, is it making me worse? And I'm a strong believer that, yeah, if you pay
Mhm.
attention to what you eat, nutrition, lifestyle, you can completely change your life. And that's something that I'm always trying to, open mom's eyes, if I can, anyone that is close to me or have the opportunity to talk about that, because then you can pass that on to your kid. And the gratitude aspect of it, I think it makes you so much more amazing as a mom, and you're so resilient, and even the mind to overcome that. Like, what would you say were the strongest um mindset shift that you had to have, which you've mentioned some, but what would you say that moment that you had to be like, okay, I gotta switch to this mindset to be able to live a different path now?
Yeah, definitely. I was almost ready to give up. I mean, to be honest, everyone was telling me to wave the red flag, like that's it, this is going to be your life. And my husband, who's so supportive, and we were freshly married at this point, and for him to be such a great caretaker, it was hard for me. I'm a control freak, and so I like to always do things for me, and I've never had someone have to take care of me like that. And he finally took me to my favorite place, because I hadn't gone anywhere in however many years, and he took me to a beach that I went to as a kid. And it was there in that moment where I was like, you know what? There's there's opportunity, and there's the ability for me to learn from this experience, and this is not it. I am not ready to wave the red flag. And that's when I really started, like, my mind shifted. I started taking care of me. I started researching more and believing more. And I think that whole journey, like, I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. And even if you don't know what the reason is after the fact, like, now I look back and I'm like, I went through that for a purpose, and it made me who I am today. And if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Yeah. And I love what you said, like, this isn't it.
Hmm.
Life is not over. This is so important with anything that you're going through life. If you go through it, but if you get to that moment and you just switch in your mind, you know what? This isn't it. Like, this isn't the end. I'm not going to accept this. Anything can change. But
Yeah.
if you don't, you're going to stay the same. Like, and it could be over because
Mhm.
your mindset is going to take you there because that's what you're believing in. That's why belief is so important. At that moment, you believe, you know what? No, this is going to look different. And then guess what? It did. So
Mhm.
I'm so excited for you, and happy that you get to share this story with other people so they can get inspired by it, because this is something that you can take for life.
Yeah.
Anything that you're going through in life is just change your perspective, and watch how things are actually going to start changing. So, oh, that's
Mhm.
awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And how is life now for you? Is it
Yeah.
like, what are some, like, because I don't know much about this, and thanks for sharing about this disease so we can have more understanding. But are you able to, what are some of the things that you're able to do normally now, or maybe some of the things that you still can?
Yeah, I'm able to do everything now. I mean, and I love that not everyone goes through that when they're in recovery. And so I'm able to do everything. And my life, I almost feel like I'm more clear in the head. I'm stronger as a person because of what I went through. And I'm so glad that I went through that. As hard as it was, I'm so glad that I did, because now I'm able to do everything. But I do have to, try to watch my stress level. We all try to watch our stress levels in life. And I am able to dance, which I never thought I would. I'm able to, I had two kids. They
That's
said I'd
awesome.
never have two kids. And so I'm living
You're
a totally, whatever normal is life, but I had that experience to fall back on to push me through all the things and to teach my daughter. And I also have a son, to push through anything that might be tough. And, for her, in dance, if something's tough, let's, like you said, let's talk about it. Let's see how we can grow from it. Because
yeah.
it's not, that one moment doesn't signify your entire life.
So, do you mind telling us some of the changes that you actually made in your nutrition?
Yeah, so I used to eat a lot of fake sugar, I guess you could say. Back in the day, I had a little bit of coffee with a lot of fake sugar, and so I cut out all the fake sugar. I don't eat any processed foods, so I eat everything. I cook everything from scratch as much as I can. I grow a lot of my own vegetables, a lot of my own fruits. I eat super clean, which wasn't always easy growing up, and especially now with things being so expensive, but I still eat super clean, and I make that a priority. I'd rather spend thousands of dollars on food than go and do something else, because it's part of my health and it's part of my kids' health. And I drink a lot of water. I try to get as much rest as I can. I exercise, but I don't over exercise. And I think that's huge because, especially as a dancer, and when I was training for a marathon, like exercise was my life. And now I just really have a lot of balance in my life, which I didn't have when I was younger.
Wow, that's great. Very, very awesome. I like that people can hear this and kind of like be more practical, even about the things that you said, that you mentioned. Definitely, those are the things that I try to do here in my house, my family, and we love it. It has made us tremendous change in how we feel, in our energy, in our health. We're never really sick. It helps. It helps a lot. People say, you get to choose where you spend your money. It is
Mhm.
an investment because you're going to get that in return. And if you don't spend now, you might have to spend later with other things. And especially with us having kids who are very involved in sports, they're pretty much athletes in dance or whatever it is. I have other, obviously other people who have kids in other sports. Very important to watch what they're eating because they're working their bodies excessively. They need a lot of nutrients back in their bodies, and if they're not eating great food,
Mhm.
you're gonna see the, unfortunately, the results that, more sick, being weak, and not being able to, brain fog, all this stuff, that
Mhm.
is going to eventually very much affect the development. So I think it's awesome that you're taking the time to do this for yourself and for your
Mhm.
kids, because I'm all about that. um, but okay, so let's change into a little bit. So you decided to create an Instagram page,
Mhm.
which you can tell people about it. And how what is the handle that you have now on Instagram?
Yeah, my handle is the Angela Rivers, and I started it, when Instagram started, and it was for me. And as my daughter became better at her craft and really wanted to get herself some exposure, I'm still, leery of having. She's so young, so I don't want her to have her own yet. But I do post a lot of her, and it is a Dance Mom page. And I hope one day to have her be able to take it over because this is for her, and I'm helping support her in her journey and her dream. And yeah, it's the Angela Rivers, and I'm also on Facebook, but people, they'll watch her craft and they'll watch her success on Instagram, which I love.
Awesome. And tell us why you think that it is important for your daughter to ended up having a platform on social media that she can eventually use. And yeah, tell us why would someone do this?
Yeah, social media is such an amazing tool. I wish that I had it when I was growing up. We didn't. We had MySpace, and that wasn't until I was a late teen. But there's so much power in social media. You can meet, like, I met you, and you're in Brazil, and I'm in Virginia. Like, who would have thought? And so you can meet all sorts of people, and we'll go to conventions, and they will follow her, and they'll support her, and they'll cheer her on, which I love. And you never know, like, you just never know the power of social media and the ability for maybe she'll get picked up one day by a company, or maybe she'll land her dream job just because somebody saw her on Instagram. Like, you just never know. There's so many more opportunities nowadays than there ever was when I was younger. And I want her to have every avenue that she can to get her dream, whether it's on social media, whether it's traveling, whether it's taking that private lesson, like I mentioned before. You just never know what the future entails. And so, yeah, I want her to have her platform to be able to share her craft and find a whole community of people on social media to support her and her to support them.
Yes, I'm all about that. I love it. Obviously, this is what I do here with my page, but I think it's so important for people to get awareness of the power of social media. Social media is not just for us to be scrolling through it and just, and that's it. It's very entertaining. It's so much fun, but actually it's to bring people together. It's to be able to give you influence, network, make money, all those things that are amazing and create so much opportunities that, we didn't have when you were younger. Like, our parents didn't have it. And today I always try to explain to people that if you don't understand the power of social media, you are going to miss out on so many opportunities, so many people that you can come across. Like you said, even with this podcast, I'm meeting so many people with the social media and incredible people. And then, I'm able to help the moms, do this with their social medias and grow their online business. And I am all about, like, I'm Evelyn. So my daughter, she's very much part of what we're doing here. Like, it's me and my husband, we work together, and all the things that she is learning. And it's funny because she's getting excited now because she's looking at my page. She's like, oh, look at you. Like, she's like, oh, you're growing. I saw your video. Oh, my friends are sharing with me your video. And she's like, she
Yeah.
thinks it's the coolest thing. She's like, how did you do that? How did you think about that? Which I think is so funny, because I'm like, she is learning also from a young age that, yes, take advantage of life opportunities, turn this into something that you can showcase who you are. You can get around other people. So I think it's so important to do that. And I love social media. It's an incredible tool. And I recommend people to just take advantage and definitely use it, and you said that you're going to be start doing the social media for your studio.
Yeah, so
So
I just took
tell
it
me.
over. Yeah, I just took it over. Social media has always been I call it my jam, but I've always had a knack for it, and I'm super trained in all things social media from multiple years of, I worked a lot in marketing. And so social media is fun for me, and I took it over for the studio, and we're having such success in the small time that I have taken it over. And I love that I'm given that ability to do that for our studio, because their success is also my daughter's success. You always want a studio to grow and thrive because it also reflects on your child and their journey. And I adore our studio owner. She's one of my closest friends. And I am so thankful. I tell her all the time, I'm like, I'm so thankful that I can do this for you. And it's fun. It's fun for the kids. They'll be like, hey, can we do this reel or can we do that? And just getting them exposed because it is a powerful tool and you just never
Mhm.
know. And, you also learn things from other people's pages and they'll learn
Yeah.
stuff from ours. And I adore that ability.
And today, as a dance studio, the first thing you're gonna do when you're looking for a dance studio is look at their social media pages.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people realize the power of that, and if they're not, they should be paying attention, the studio owners, because this is what we look for. So sometimes you may dismiss a dance studio just because you can't find anything on their social media, or their social media is just like doesn't give any information, and you're like, you immediately associate that with, oh, maybe this dance studio is not doing much. And sometimes they're doing a lot of things, a lot is happening, but if they don't have a social media presence, I've had this idea, like when I came to Brazil, I was looking like some studios didn't show anything at all, and I was like, okay, so maybe they're not. And then you go there, they're super busy, and I'm like, oh, maybe they just don't do social media. But how are you supposed to know, right? That's where
Mhm.
we're finding the information. So I think it's awesome for the dance studios to kind of like even showcase their culture, showcase all
Mhm.
the events that are happening, so we can kind of pick, oh, I see what they're doing this event, oh, these are the kids, this is the classroom, oh, this is, all the fun stuff that they're doing, oh, these are the dances, let me see, let me watch how their dances are, and
Yeah.
the instructors, it gives so much information. So definitely something that, I recommend every studio owner to be doing this, and I'm so glad that you're doing this for them. That's very, very awesome. um and then so what are some of the things, like when looking at your daughter, maybe like all the girls that she's around, I see that you're involved in the community, you also part of the team mom, what is it that you mentioned?
Yeah, so I'm a team mom. We have a bunch of different team moms because we have different teams. I mean, as you grow and get older, and everybody's put with their age group. And so yeah, I'm a team mom, and I'm helping with their social. And I will be the first to sign up for all the things because I just want to be involved. And the studio is like a big family, and I when we moved to this area about 10 years ago, and so when she wanted to take dance, I shopped around. People always ask, like, how did you choose your studio? What made it good for you? Like, why did you choose that? And it's just the culture. It's when I walked in, I felt like I was at home. And everybody, you know each studio and each person, it's different. And so what this studio might be for me might be different for somebody else, but it felt like home. And so I'm the first to sign up to be involved because I want to be there. And my friends are now there. Once you're around a bunch of dance moms, you kind of become friends.
Yeah.
And our studio is not too dramatic. It's not like Dance Moms or anything like that, where it's like people are at each other's heads. We're all there to support our kids and to support the studio as much as we can. So,
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned it's so important to stay focused
yeah.
and on your goals and what you want, and understand that not everyone has the same goal.
Yeah, and that's
So tell
okay.
me about that. Yeah.
Not everyone has the same goals. And, some people might just want to do rec, and that's okay. And some people might want to, you know, be on Broadway like my daughter. And that's okay too, but they can all still be supportive of one another, and they can all learn something different at the same studio. It's just about what you want to do and what your journey is going to look like. And it's okay to have different goals.
hmm So talk a little bit about being on Broadway, because Broadway is some, I know a lot of people who are in love with, fascinated about it. So I was a former dancer, and even though I liked Broadway, I was never like, ooh, all about Broadway. And it's interesting because my daughter is the same way. I'm like, I hope it wasn't me. But I was like, I love Broadway, but it may be because of my training. Like I didn't have many training on Broadway style of dance. Who knows, if I had it, maybe I would have enjoyed more. So it was just not part of me growing up. And
Mhm.
obviously I didn't go to Broadway because I grew up in Brazil. So the first time I went, I was like an adult, and it wasn't exposed to that so much. But thinking that your daughter wants to go on that path, what are some, because you must have like some knowledge or an understanding of how that goes, how do they prepare to be on Broadway? Like what are some of the things that they have to train differently and go on a path to know how to do? Because it's almost like a different bracket of dance. It's like there's dance, but then there's Broadway. So tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah, so I encourage her to do all different styles. My daughter loves all the styles. Her favorite is tap, and she's very good at it at such a young age. She actually wants to be a rockette, but I'm not sure if she's going to have the height, so we're going to get there. But I tell her to do all the different styles because when you're on Broadway, you're supposed to give a show. People come to watch a show. And so you might not necessarily be the most amazing like technical dancer, but you can put on a show.
You
And
got to
that's what I
perform.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I love about my daughter is she gets on the stage and she performs. And even if she makes mistakes, because we all do, she's still out there performing and giving that sass and that talking to the judges and to the audience, because I feel like that's what she was born to do. She was born to perform. And so I encourage that when she is taking class and to really work on her technique, but also work on her showmanship. And she, hopes to maybe take some singing lessons at some point. She's not quite there yet in her wanting to do it outside of dance because she's so focused on dance. But I do think it's important for her to do that, to take some drama classes and to have that background because there are going to be so many opportunities if that is the path that she wants to take.
So do you have to sing to be on Broadway? Not necessarily, right?
No, you don't. No. But she loves to sing. She's like, Mom, I'm a dancer. I'm not gonna go take singing lessons too. I just want to be at the studio. But I think at some point she's gonna need that background if that is what she wants. Whether she's singing two lines or whether she's singing none, just having more of a wide a range of background in the
Yeah.
Broadway realm will give her more opportunities if that is what she wants to do. But you never know. She's still 8, so she might change her
Yeah.
mind 4 times between now and 10 times between now and when she's a senior and going off to college.
That's so true. I love it. And my daughters, the studio that she should go to, they had a kick line group
Oh,
in the
how fun!
competition.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's like when I got introduced to it. I was like, what is a kick line? I'm like, kick line from the Broadway. Okay. Like I was familiar with it, but not much. But when they did so, they had a special group that like they would audition for, and then some girls would get in the kick line. So they made it really special. I loved it. I was like, oh, this is awesome. So it was really well done. It was the one, like the studio owner, she was the one who was in charge of it. So it was the only dance in the studio that she was involved. It was like her baby. And I absolutely loved it. I was like, oh, now this is cool. So my daughter, like when she got introduced to that, she liked it because they would do all the kick line and the dances were very, it's so different, the style of dance, like the poses, the way they would look. It was just very, and it has to be so synchronized to look good. And that part I was like, oh, this is beautiful. Like, and they would do like a Christmas show, so they
Oh,
would
how
kind of like,
fun!
yeah, kind of like do, a little bit like the Rockettes. So they were like
Yeah.
mini Rockettes, and I fell in love with it. And then like going to competitions with that kind of dance was really exciting because it's like oh, it's like a different kind of show. It's really like, oh, you can see,
Yes.
a whole Broadway thing. So that was super cool. So that opened my daughter's eyes a little bit more to like, oh, what are the Rockettes? Like, let me
Mhm.
understand more about Broadway and stuff like this. And so yeah, Broadway is just like it's like special. When you go to a show, then it's like, okay, it makes sense why Broadway is the way it is because it's such
It's
unique.
special.
Like,
Yeah.
it's special. Yeah. And they're like work so hard and it's so like it's a wow of like technique and performance and very well done. So it's beautiful. So I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's so neat too that your studio does that because you don't see
Yeah.
that often.
No. So she has kept it, as she said, for 25 years.
Wow, that's
So it was
amazing.
one, yeah. So it's like the owner's very passionate about it. So
Yeah.
when she started her dance studio, yeah, because yeah, she had the dance studio for 25 years. So she said she's never let go of the kick line. It's been her
Oh,
baby, and
I love that.
she continues. And I was like, I loved it because
Oh,
it's getting lost today, that kind of art in the studios. And it's just she kept it classic, and it's like this is what it is, this dance, and she doesn't deviate much from it, and I love it. And she's like, I think more students definitely should do that because it made my daughter like she's so like excited about Broadway and the Rockettes and the classical, way of dancing. And yeah, it was fun to watch for sure.
yeah, you see that a lot in colleges now too.
Yes, I noticed that you're seeing that in colleges. I think it's
And the skill
incredible.
level of dance in
Yeah,
colleges is so much more extraordinary than ever when I was younger.
right. I saw some of these dances now. I'm
Yeah.
sure you know what we're talking about. Those that went viral. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Yes,
This is
exactly.
insane. They're
But I
such a good.
love, go ahead, sorry.
No,
Yeah.
they were such good dancers. I was like, I didn't know that they were dancing like this in college. I mean, yes.
But I think I love most about it is they are so extraordinary, but they teach, like my daughter looks up to those girls. And it's like, oh my goodness, if they can do that, let me try this skill. And she's always like learning. She's very social media savvy too. So she has like, the ones for younger kids that are more protected, but she learns and she'll watch mine and she learns these skills and then she wants to try it because she's like,
Hmm.
oh, if they can do it, I want to try it too. And I love that because it's just such great influence.
Yes, and I think sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I felt like when kids are in competition and it was the seniors year and it's like this big goodbye, and I feel like a lot of these girls that were dancing all of a sudden stopped dancing. I always felt that it was so wrong, because I come from a culture that you just continue dancing. So just to give you a perspective, I'm in Brazil right now, and my daughter goes to this dance studio that the owner, who is 50 years of age and looks like she's 30, absolutely amazing. She dances, and she dances like absolutely incredible. She's very much, she dances all the dances, but she's in very much into contemporary. Oh my gosh, she's incredible. So they have a group of just adults who are absolutely super talented. And they have adult classes, like they're packed, they're adult classes. So in
Yeah.
Brazil, the culture is pretty much you dance for life if you want to, right? I got to America and I was like, why? Like it's almost like this farewell to dance, the seniors.
Yeah.
Wow, it's your senior year. Goodbye. It was a good time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so young.
Hmm.
Did you get this perspective, or was it just me? Because I felt like, there's not even like room much for you to dance as an adult. There's very few adult classes. And when, it's like there's maybe like two people there and people are feeling awkward. We're here in Brazil, like all the moms are dancing. They were like, do you want to join the class? I'm like, oh, I'm good, but I would look at the owner and she's like, I'm like, are you serious that you're this phenomenon of a dancer? And she's like, very involved in the dance studio, and she's teaching a bunch of classes and she's dancing. I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And I see that a lot here. Like when the seniors are done, they're done. And I'm like, well, why? Like, I mean,
Right.
everybody has different dreams and purposes, and we went through that, but like some of them are so talented. And even just to take a class here and there, like don't stop. You don't have to be in it
You don't have to
all throughout.
compete.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
but just to take a class here and there because some of these seniors are incredible.
Yeah.
And even if they're not the most incredible, they're having fun up there. I mean, you can see it. And so
That's what
keep that
I'm saying. Yeah.
passion, keep that excitement because you're teaching all the younger ones to keep that thrive and ability strong. Like it's just fun. Dance is fun. It's an expression of yourself. And so
Yeah.
keep that going. Yeah.
Keep that going. Exactly. Do not let people feel like that you should quit dance because you're like 18, 19, which is so young.
Yeah.
And absolutely keep dancing. Dance is good for the body, for the soul, for the mind. Like it was funny because the dance director here, that's what she told me. I was like, girl, my body does not do the same stuff. I'm like,
My body doesn't
she's
either anymore.
yeah. I was like, no. And she's like, Nada, it's not about the body. It's about your soul. It's about your spirit. She's like, this is what it is about. I'm like, oh, well, that's a good point. And there's a lady there who has to be maybe 7 years old. And she is in the adult jazz class. And she's
I
the
love that.
sweetest lady. And I'm like, how fun.
Yeah.
How amazing. It's like
Yeah.
she's there having a good old time. When it was like they did a show, she was so fun to watch. And I'm like, girl, come on. It's like, I love that because at the end of the day, dance is more than just the competition, the
Oh, yeah.
awards. Like dance is about you keeping yourself healthy in your mind, in your body, keep yourself active. It's so good for you. And doing what you love. If you love dance, keep dancing.
Yeah, I always feel like when I'm dancing, I go to a whole different space in my head.
Yep.
And I've always been like that, whatever was, making me down or upset or stressed or whatever, when I'm dancing, and I dance in my kitchen all day long, like, let's just get real. But when I'm dancing, I am a whole other person and I love
Yeah.
that person, and I want to keep that going my entire life, and to teach my
Yeah.
daughter that, take your space, take your head to a different space, like let yourself loose, just enjoy the moment, because there aren't always going to be great moments. And so
Yeah.
enjoy the moments that you have, and whether they're good or bad, or what have you, just enjoy it and be happy.
Yes. And stop caring about what other people
Other
think.
people think, yeah, I know.
Yes.
And have you
It's like,
seen
who
too?
cares?
I know, and I love too the I'm sure you've seen it on Instagram or other social platforms, the people who are in their older ages and they start dancing again. Like they gave it up for however many years and then they're starting again. And I love that, because we all go through different things and we can always pick it back up. And I love
Yeah.
that they're, picking it back up. And some are going on to be, in the professional realm in
Look
their
at
later
that.
ages. And I love that. I'm
Yeah.
always going to cheer those people on.
Yes, again with the limitations, right?
Yeah.
Limitations don't do you any good. If
No.
you stay in this box, oh, guess what? All your life is going to be in this box. If you open yourself up and be like, you know what? Who cares what people think? I'm going to do what I love. I'm going to dive in and see what happens, and I'm going to have fun. Guess what? Amazing things are going to happen. And you're going to be like, wow, I should have done this before. So I'm
Yeah.
all about that.
Same.
Yeah. So, well, this was an awesome conversation, Angela. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for being on this podcast. I think people are going to get very inspired by your story. Thank you for sharing, how you overcame all your obstacles and how much you love dance and all your tips for dancers and dance moms to navigate this. It was an amazing time. So tell people again how they can find you on Instagram and social media and Facebook.
Yeah. Yep. They can find me. My handle is the Angela Rivers. And then you can also find me on Facebook at Angela Rivers. And I also have my maiden name in there, which is Ironman. My dad was Tim Ironman, so he was a famous jazz musician. So I have all those connections over there on Facebook, which is really fun. Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's awesome. So thanks for being here. I had so much
Thank
fun.
you. Thank you. And thank you so much for doing what you do. Having that support as a dance mom, and just to be able to see your page and have fun. And we all go through similar things as dance moms. And so I appreciate what you're doing and how you're supporting the community.
Oh, that's awesome. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks so much. Have a great day.